Hey guys, welcome to Boxing Squared for boxing news and views from around the internet. The stars appear to be lining up for a Dillian Whyte and Anthony Joshua rematch in April at Wembley, should a Deontay Wilder fight not get made. There's two pieces of news that have added some more weight to this potential scenario, with one being the IBF saying the WBO mandatory is next, not their own. And the second piece of news, Whyte has just been made the number one in the WBO rankings, which in itself increases the chances he will be named its mandatory challenger. So the IBF comments, they were made by one of its representatives at the Kubrat Pulev and Hughie Fury post-fight press conference. So that means a title shot for Kubrat Pulev against Anthony Joshua, or whoever holds the belt, it won't be until the second half of 2019. And Eddie Hearn, Joshua's promoter, he's also been saying similar things in recent interviews. And if Whyte is made the WBO mandatory, I believe that it exponentially increases the likelihood that he does fight Joshua next. For a couple of reasons. The obvious one being Joshua has to keep chugging through his mandatories because with 3 belts, they just keep piling up. But the other reason is that the Deontay Wilder fight, should he get past Tyson Fury in December, it's looking increasingly remote. So in a stand-up interview after the Jacobs and Derevyanchenko fight, Hearn effectively said that little progress has been made on making a deal. Although that he said some of Deontay Wilder's people are talking at some numbers below the level of 50-50 or 60-40 in Wilder's favour that Wilder has been mentioning. But Hearn, he again reiterated that groundwork needs to be done now to avoid delays later on, and that if they didn't have a framework in place, it probably would take at least a month, the whole of December, to work through a potential deal. And given the previous negotiation, it might be an optimistic time frame. But there was also a flavour from Hearn that, look, they might just have to move on if they can't negotiate. And in front of reporters, he also said this in respect of Dillian Whyte and Jarell Miller. I'd say Whyte is the favourite if Wilder doesn't take the fight. If Whyte gets beat, then Miller faces Joshua on April 13. UK fans follow boxing religiously. So what we're doing with DAZN, UK fans are saying, when is DAZN coming to the UK? They follow all the guys. All the DAZN cards are in the UK. And he's big. On Sky, yeah, if he came to the UK for a fight, he would get absolutely mobbed. And Eddie Hearn was talking about Jarell Miller there in that last part. So a couple of things of note there. Eddie Hearn is reaffirming that Whyte is in pole position should a Wilder fight not get made, but also that Jarell Miller is officially the backup should Whyte lose to Derek Chisora in December. And that's a fight that he also said in the same interview that he does expect to get made. You never know what could happen in that fight between Dillian Whyte and Derek Chisora. After all, a lot of people, including myself, thought that Derek Chisora won that first fight in December 2016. And Chisora, he showed that he's got something left by beating Carlos Takam recently. And while we're on this topic, I actually saw recently a number of comments in different comment sections trying to discredit the win from Derek Chisora, saying it was a lucky punch. Come on now. Really? A lucky punch? Sure, Chisora was taking a lot of punishment, and that much was clear, but he was also deliberately allowing Takam to get off his work and allowing Takam to wear himself out. If you watch that fight again, you'll see that Chisora, he was firing back when he saw openings. So to say that he only won because of a lucky punch, that's complete nonsense. Takam was gassing from the pace of the fight. He was trying to get Derek Chisora out of there, but Chisora was absorbing the punishment. And ultimately, Chisora took his opportunity and clocked Takam. But say that Dillian Whyte was upset by Derek Chisora, then Jarell Miller, he would seemingly be Johnny on the spot for a title shot. Not exactly the scenario a lot of fans want to see given Miller's recent career choices, going after a faded Thomas Adamek. It was a cherry pick. And now he's going after prospect Bogdan Dinu. But never know, it could happen. Jarell Miller could be the guy facing Anthony Joshua in April. Not exactly the fight I want to see, but who knows. I had to laugh though at Hearn's comments that Miller would get mobbed. Really? I mean, I get a pretty good read on what fans are thinking from the comment section to my videos, and I'm certainly not convinced that Miller is getting mobbed in the UK, and if he was getting mobbed in the UK, it's probably an angry mob out for justice for Anthony Joshua's mother. Probably more likely to see that than Miller getting mobbed by friendly fans. But it's to be expected that Eddie Hearn is going to be bigging Miller up because it's in his interest to do so. Miller is, after all, on his books, and Hearn, he is looking to lock up Miller for another deal on DAZN after his next fight, and that next fight is against Bogdan Dinu, and I covered that fight in another video, so you can check that one out if you like. Given that there's been now Adamek and now Dinu, I think fans are only going to be lukewarm on a Jarell Miller fight. Sure, closer to the time, people would sort of get, a bit more jazzed about it. But the prospect of it now, I mean, I just don't know if he's done enough in terms of recent fights. You're only as good as your last fight. And he's fighting rinsed 41-year-old former cruiserweights. He needs to fight someone with a bigger and better name. Someone in their prime, not, many years removed from it. It's just that simple. If he doesn't face some of these good guys, in his relentless pursuit of the secondary title in the WBA, it's actually hurting his stock, it's hurting his image for all the negotiating power that he thinks it brings him. Fighting guys like Bogdan Dinu, it doesn't actually, bring you a lot of acclaim. And just on the Dinu fight, that's been made without the regular title being on the line. They're hoping to get it added, but there's no guarantee that it will be. So right now it is just Miller versus Dinu, and Dinu is a relatively unknown prospect. He hasn't really been fighting much in the past 3 years, and Jarell Miller won't get a whole lot of credit for beating him, and he is expected to beat him. But anyway, if I was Dillian Whyte, with the IBF confirming it won't be calling its mandatory next, but the WBO will, and that Whyte is now number 1 in the WBO, I'd be feeling pretty good about my chances of getting that Joshua fight, and also for it to be a mandatory for the WBO. I mean, we can certainly argue the merits of how much we want to see that, rematch over a Wilder fight, but at the end of the day, if the Wilder fight isn't there and doesn't get made, Joshua needs to fight someone, and the rematch with Whyte is one of the better options available for Anthony Joshua, and it's a pretty decent scrap. It may not be a Wilder fight, may not be the big one everyone wants, but, it's still a good scrap after all. And if Whyte manages to beat Chisora, beats him well, looks good, then that's only going to help build some more buzz for an Anthony Joshua fight. But just on if Chisora beats Whyte, I've seen some commentary from some saying perhaps Chisora would end up fighting Joshua. And I can't say I have any interest in seeing that. I think there would be a bit of an outrage, a bit of an outcry if they were to try set that up. There are other names higher in the queue than Derek Chisora, even if he beats Dillian Whyte. And to some extent, selling a world title fight with a guy with 8 losses on his record, that's certainly a challenge. I think fans would expect Chisora to get destroyed as well. He's been considered by fans to be washed up before, so yeah, I don't know about that. Just my 2 cents, give me yours. Drop a comment, loud and often. Hit like, hit subscribe. Follow me on Twitter, boxing_squared. I'm out.
If you want even more boxing content, come and join me on Patreon.
Every week on a Sunday, I drop a new video on something topical or thought-provoking from the heavyweight division, ranging from rankings, the business of boxing, the false economy of deluded fanboys, the twists and turns in the division, to assessments of fighters and their statements. I hope to see you there, and for more information go to patreon.com/boxing squared. The address is on screen now.